What up? Seth Miranda here. This is Adorama Rewind. It's a pretty light week this week, which is good because last week was pretty heavy. I know we went into like over 20 minutes on that one, but it seemed like there was a lot of stuff to bring to your attention, and it's kind of hard to gauge what you guys find pertinent or what you're into and what affects you. So some of the stuff I find really hard hitting, you gloss over, and some of the stuff I think is like kind of lightweight, you seem to harp on in the comments. So I'm trying to find that sweet spot still. I appreciate you guys sticking around for the longer episodes. Let's not try to drag this one out, right? Okay, so this one's pretty weird. Laser damage on a Sony a7S II during a tattoo removal. So you can actually see here that as the flashes are happening, here's the damage showing up on the sensor from the lasers. We talked about this with self-driving cars causing the same type of issues, and DJ lasers and all sorts of stuff at weddings. And I've talked about some friends that have had sensor damage due to lasers and things like that. I myself have had laser tattoo removal done years ago. Let's not talk about it too much, but you had to wear huge, like real hardcore eyewear to protect yourself from the flashing that happened in that room, and it felt like just flashes of lightning going off from this little tiny laser. So this doesn't surprise me at all. If you're in any situation that lasers are going to be present, your camera is going to feel it. It's not a normal wavelength of light that it was designed for to capture. It's an intensity. So I'm not surprised at this. And of course, a new sensor is like buying a new camera. So just be wary of that. In some Leica news, the Q2, 47 megapixel 4K weather sealed compact camera. So the Q has been a staple of Leica for a while, and it's really awesome. This comes with a 28 millimeter 1.7 lens. It is all weather. It's saying it's pretty rugged. It is a higher resolution camera now, 47.3 megapixel on a full frame sensor, 50 to 50,000 ISO, 10 frames per second. And Leica doing the minimal design, obviously, with like the minimal buttons and the clean looking aesthetic. And of course, you have the Leica quality that goes along with it. They're calling it like an all-around low light, rain or shine, whatever you want to get into. It is going to be about a $5,000 price point, but Leica has yet to make any like bad cameras out there. The Q has been awesome. I see some of the guys using it. Robert Kaplan from Photo Brigade has used the Q forever for all the portraits you see of the thumbnails from the Photo Brigade podcast that takes place on our Facebook page. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Me and Daniel are on it forever ago, and you get to learn about some great photographers. But long story short, a photographer choosing to shoot other photographers using a Leica Q shows kind of the respect level for that camera. On the complete opposite side of that, YongNuo put out this, a Micro Four Thirds EF mount Android 4K mirrorless camera. So we reported on this a while ago, the YN450. They put a post on Facebook to ask you guys to come up with a name for it. I guess that kind of didn't pan out because they just ended up with the YN450 anyway. It's basically an Android phone with an EF mount. It can do 4K video, micro SD, raw photos, 8 megapixel front-facing camera. Has a headphone jack, LED flashes. It's just seems like an Android phone that you can mount EF mount lenses to and get yourself some 4K video, raw photos out of it. It is going to price about $500. So I'm not sure who this appeals to. If you're someone that uses your phone a lot for filming and you don't want to burn your battery, or if you're just someone that didn't want to spend a lot of money but have a low profile camera that could use your already Canon glass. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments if this at all interests you. I'm really curious about that. I myself am not a huge fan of the Android interface, but maybe you are. It's crazy. YongNuo has definitely put out a lot of affordable gear out there with a lot of interesting twists to it. So this is just another one, I think. Very curious about it. In more low-cost gear, Mikey, I'm not sure if that's even how you say it, Mikey unveils an 85 millimeter 1.8 manual focus lens for the Sony FE mount. So pretty much this is a manual focus 85 millimeter portrait lens, and if you scroll down, you can see all this Instagram candy that they're, look at this guy, he's on fire, whoa. All this, look at more Instagram candy, look at this, oh my God, he's wearing a mask, whoa. So they've put out an 85 1.8 autofocus in the past that was under 200 bucks. So this manual focus, I can only imagine would be a little over $100, maybe less. So it's kind of cool if you want some low cost glass, if you're someone that's just getting into things, you just want to play around with different focal lengths and see what you like, or even see what different quality lenses give you. Maybe you can get more aware of fringing on colors, whatever the case, whatever makes this more affordable. It can't be that much of a hurt to just give it a shot. I think it's pretty cool. In lens technology itself, though, Sony E-mount can take an 0.063. So this is more of that debate, right? Like we talked about the Nikon Z mount saying that it can handle 0.65. Well, they're claiming that the Sony E mount can theoretically take an 0.63 and that the Canon RF mount can go to 0.62, and that they can actually theorize the Nikon Z mount, if you see right here, can actually get to a maximum of 0.58, which is crazy and almost unusable, and it can only make the lenses more expensive. And of course, you know, the size of the lens itself would be massive, but it's just kind of getting a little crazy out there. And I feel like we're back into like the megapixel wars where we're just like throwing numbers around and hoping that something sells more. Yeah, 2 stops in, all that stuff and whatever else. In the end, you're gonna have such a shallow depth of field that the lens is just gonna be a soft focus lens anyway. So you're gonna be paying a ton of money for a murky lens, or maybe that's the look you want, but I urge you to watch out for gimmicks on your lenses, because I remember back in the day when I shot BMX and skateboarding, everybody was rocking these fisheyes. We even pulled peepholes out of doors and spot welded them to filters to make it like super wide angle. We used to call them death lenses because you have to get so close and you get hit and you get hurt and you know, almost die. But I remember looking at all those photos and like all the images were amazing, but if you looked at it through like a civilian's eyes, they all look the same because there was a gimmick. And if you start getting into things that are super shallow depth of field, unless it actually elevates the image or applies properly, after a while it's just like an effect that overtakes the image rather than the image itself standing on its own. I also think that, you know, just watch out for the marketing out there. Just because the numbers are lower or higher doesn't mean that it's better or worse. You have to go for the gear that has the characteristics you want. You've seen me do live demos here with kit lenses. I use that 24 to 120 full f4 lens, and everybody hates that lens. I use it for almost everything, including commercial work. I mean, I've shot full-on covers for magazines that end up on Barnes & Noble stands, no problem. And commercial billboards I've shot with that lens. It's not about what they're trying to sell you on, it's what that gear can deliver, and is it that what you want from the gear. So that's that rant. I just want you guys to be aware of some things like that. And it is kind of cool that we can get to these technological feats of just such a wide open aperture, and we're redesigning cameras finally and actually innovating them, but just be a little on the know of that. So this one from the Phoblographer, it's pretty important. Making copyright infringement claims is now harder for photographers. So in the past, you could actually find your work out there going viral or whatever it is. I'm just gonna scroll through this really quick. And you could go, and go start filing for a copyright and then go to court about it, or make a claim or whatever. But now you have to have already had the copyright completed, not just filed, to go to proceedings with it. So if you found your image out there and you just filed, it would take months for you to actually go after the offending person, because it has to be a completed copyright, not just filed. I can't say that enough, because a lot of people think that all you have to do is file a copyright and you can go after somebody. That's no longer the case. Supreme Court is ruling that it could take up to 6-7 months before you can even start going after someone. And I don't really know if they can still keep using the image while this is all going on. I'm not sure what that's all about. Check out the article. There is a link inside that article that gives you full details on it. We've all had images just like taken off of our pages and spread around there and gone viral. And most of the time you're not even getting credit, let alone compensation, and we're trying to make a living at this, right? So be aware of your rights. I know we talk about image rights a lot here, but things are changing, kids. All right, so that's what I'm gonna give you for what's going on out there. If you want some more stuff going on, check last week. A lot of that stuff is still happening, and it was pretty heavy. I want to clue you into some things on our channel. So the My Travel Diary Kenya has released episode 2, and you can follow Erin Outdoors as she documents some of the people and their living situations in Kenya. Adorama did provide water tanks for this tribe so that they could actually have clean water. So that was pretty awesome for Adorama to do that. I'm just saying, I think that this goes beyond just like putting out content and actually trying to make something happen out there on a real level. And Sal Dahlia behind this series is the guy behind TTL, so it's really beautifully shot and well put together, and I can't be more proud of it or this team. And hey, I just dropped a new video. If you like my LiveView series, I showed you guys the Amsterdam latex shoot that I did last time, and I had the parachute and Photokina, shooting a little more Supreme, BK Fox, a bunch of others. This one was hyper-realistic vampire shoots, so you actually get to come with me as I explain how I shot hyper-realistic statues for Trent Taft and Shinya. This was an Andre the Giant I got to shoot for him. You get to go through those images with me and how I did the philosophy of it and things like that. And then we go into the vampire shoot and I take you step by step, well, for the most part, about how I did that shoot and started transforming into things that were above just documenting it, which is always the key. One thing I want to add about this is that shooting sculptures is tough because there's no posing them or emoting. So it's all about your lighting, angles, perspective points, and geometrics. So, and creating the environment around it. So I want you guys to check that out and give me some comments down below. Let me know if this is the kind of stuff you're feeding off of. I know that what I shoot is way different than what happens on the channel as far as like shooting a model and making light beautiful and more educational. This is more philosophical of how I approach things, and these shoots are really BTS. So I take the Adorama crew whenever I can do a shoot that isn't an NDA so I can actually share it, and I don't pay attention to the cameras. We actually get to work and then we reflect on it afterwards so that we can give you the real aspect of working out there. All right, in closing, let's talk about some of the comments last week. You guys were all just super grateful about this show and I appreciate all of you guys. I can't do this without you. And I asked you guys, well, where do you go to be more human with people? And do you have a photographic handshake out there? Do you have meetup groups? Do you have whatever? And a lot of you told me about these little tiny groups and how you meet up with people, but in reality, you guys seem to find this as your town square. So let's pull up Robbie Keane over here. He says, I don't know many other photographers, but it helps me immeasurably to learn and study through YouTube. Seth and all of us. I think that many people find great inspiration from learning technical skills through this medium. This forum gives photographers that may live in small towns or have few photographers in their immediate sphere an influence and opportunity to interact with other working professionals. Wow. So yeah, it's hard to tell what happens here as we're talking to a void and throwing it out there. But we do approach everything with a level of responsibility. We have to give you correct information. We have to give it to you at an entertainment value that makes it stick and makes you want to come back. And we have to have respect for you, the viewer, to not hold your hand, babysit, and just like really know that we can be a peer with you. So this means a lot. I can't thank you guys enough. There's a lot of YouTube videos and channels out there, and not to praise us or to demean anyone else, but I'll always say this, there's a lot of information, but there's very little wisdom out there. So be very vetting of your content. Okay, question of the week. I thought about this a little bit. I actually just talked with my buddy Joe McNally, who I'm very fortunate to have a line of communication with. He actually was talking to me about some stuff he had out there in the city. Wanted to see if I could take a picture of it for him, which is pretty cool. And then every time he emails me, I see his signature is at the bottom. And I always think of that signature, and then I think of the Lastolite Easy Box he designed. And then I start thinking about the Joel Grimes Beauty Dish from Westcott and all these other signature gear out there. Does that affect you as far as buying stuff? Do you guys think that the signature from a pro on some certain gear makes you go, oh, I trust this more, or I wonder what made them put this out or put their name on it, or what did they change about it? Is there something I'm not seeing? Let me know if that's something that's a factor to you when deciding on your gear or looking at trying some things out, or even changing your aesthetic to go more towards someone else's style. Really curious, do signature gear affect your decisions or your workflow? Let me know down below in the comments. All right, I tried to make this one easy. Hit like, hit subscribe, share this around, and I'll see you guys down in the comments. Peace.